The man accused of breaking into a veterinarian office while an 88-year-old man dies appeared in court today.
Coming up on Good Evening San Diego, how many years he will spend in prison.
Also, local cyclists sounding the alarm over a road in Encinitas, how dangerous they say it has become in the past few years.
Plus, a state bill to hold schools accountable for hazing is a step closer to becoming law. How advocates are working to get justice for those that have been impacted by it. The 6 o'clock edition of Good Evening San Diego starts right now.
This is Good Evening San Diego.
Good evening, San Diego. I'm Logan Byrnes.
And I'm Juliette Vara. Teresa Sardina has the night off. Thank you for joining us.
So the man accused of breaking into a Rolando veterinary office as the 88-year-old man veterinarian died of a heart attack was sentenced today.
He was sentenced to a total of 4 years, but not all of that will be in prison. Our Zara Barker is live outside the courthouse with more. Zara.
Yeah, hi, Juliette and Logan. Good evening to the both of you. This was a very interesting plea deal that happened today. Patrick O'Brien was officially sentenced this afternoon to 4 years, but he's already served about half of that time behind bars since this deadly incident happened back on June 15th of 2022. So as of now, he's scheduled to be released in just 2 weeks on April 2nd, and then he will be serving the remainder of that term on supervised probation. The victim's family was inside of that courtroom today. It was a very emotional day in court, and they were not happy with this sentencing.
My heart is broken in a million pieces.
It's been nearly 2 years since the beloved 88-year-old veterinarian Dr. Clark Kelly died at his Boulevard Animal Clinic on El Cajon Boulevard as Patrick O'Brien was allegedly breaking in.
You destroyed our lives, Patrick O'Brien. Never can I forget or erase the sound of my beloved dad struggling to breathe while he died on the 911 call he placed when you broke into the clinic. No person should ever have to hear their parent die.
As Dr. Kelly's family continues to mourn the passing of someone who gave so much to the community as a captain in the Air Force and a veterinarian for 60 years. The man allegedly connected to his death, Patrick O'Brien, was sentenced Tuesday. As part of a plea deal for involuntary manslaughter, he will serve 4 years in total. Nearly 2 of them he's already completed, and the rest will be supervised after his release on April 2nd, something the Kelly family doesn't agree with.
You collapsed our veterinary business and caused us to have to shut down the business and sell our hospital and close our doors.
The question of O'Brien's role in Dr. Kelly's death remains. While the evidence allegedly claims there wasn't a physical attack, O'Brien's actions did lead to his death. His official cause of death was listed as a heart attack.
Whatever confrontation, even if it was verbal between them, led to the stress that caused his heart attack at that moment. But for Mr. O'Brien's actions, that death would not have occurred.
Mr. O'Brien, you literally scared Dr. Kelly to death, and that's what happened in this case.
So as part of this plea deal, O'Brien will officially be released from behind bars in 2 weeks on April 2nd and then be placed on supervised probation. His attorney declined an interview with us today after the sentencing. Reporting live downtown, Zara Barker, KUSI News.
Zara, thank you. The man accused of leading a scheme that coerced young women into filming pornographic videos for the website Girls Do Porn appeared in San Diego federal court today. Michael James Pratt pled not guilty in his first appearance after fleeing the U.S. and going to Spain during a civil trial. Pratt faces a 19-count indictment that includes charges of sex trafficking, production of child pornography, and money laundering. His appearance came just hours after his business partner, Matthew Wolf, was sentenced to 14 years in prison for his role in the case. Pratt will be back before a judge on Thursday for a bail hearing.
The city of San Diego once again approving the use of drones by the San Diego Police and Fire Rescue. Today is a reality, and Misha DeBono has more.
That's part of our education to the public about when we use surveillance technology.
The San Diego City Council Tuesday approved the continued use of its UAS program, or Unmanned Aircraft System, drones, used by the San Diego Police Department and Fire and Rescue. The program has been implemented since 2018, but following privacy concerns in 2022, the city adopted an ordinance to make sure they're used with full public transparency.
Unmanned aerial systems must only be used where there is a reasonable suspicion of Part 1 FBI index crimes.
The Transparent and Responsible Use of Surveillance Technology Ordinance, or TRUST as it's known, requires that STPD and Fire and Rescue to go through a new approval process every year. It requires that some 300 technologies that fall under an umbrella of surveillance are made public and can be evaluated with a privacy advisory board. City Council member Marty Von Wilpert gives an example of discourse between the department and the advisory board. In this case, why the department rejected a particular recommendation.
Part 1 FBI index crimes refer specifically to the following crimes. It's highlighted: homicide, forcible rape, robbery, crimes that obviously all of us would consider violent and things we need to intervene in. But if you go to the second paragraph, because other crimes classified as misdemeanors or felonies not listed on the Part 1 FBI index could still be life-threatening.
As an example, an active shooter situation on a school campus.
Imagine if someone walked into UCSD or SDSU with a rifle. Those are huge campuses the police cannot cover on foot. And if we took PAB's recommendation to only fly drones in those severely limited crimes, the police could not use a drone in the event of a shooting.
And the board noted that not only are drones great for crime fighting and fire prevention, also great at de-escalation. From outside City Hall, I'm Misha DeBono.
The number of homeless people living on the streets is growing by the week, and that, of course, is a sad reality here in San Diego. The mayor and others at City Hall have a plan to convert the old Liberty Station Navy barracks into a giant homeless camp.
But the community is pushing back in a big way. KUSI's Dan Plant joins us now from the old Navy barracks with the very latest. Dan.
Hello there, yes, and they are pushing back stronger than they ever have. You know, they've been going back and forth for a couple of months now. There's been some community meetings and hearings, and in fact, a couple of weeks ago, there was a meeting in Point Loma with probably had about 500 or 600 people. All of them are opposed to what is happening over here at what they call the H barracks at Point Loma, but the city, according to their website and according to the information I got today, they are moving forward with this project, potentially 700, 800, maybe 1,000 people in 2 giant tents after they scrape all this off. And yes, this group is called, they created a new nonprofit, it's called Point Loma Cares, and they do care, and they are moving forward with their lawyers if need be. Got a chance to catch up with one of the founders of that new nonprofit earlier today, and here's what he had to say about what's happening out here.
You have probably seen them on your way to the airport. They're old, they're ugly, and according to the mayor's office, this is the new preferred location for a massive new homeless shelter for the city of San Diego.
That is what we continue to hear from the city, but when you do your research, there's no conditional use permit. Coastal development permits have not been filed. The Coastal Commission hasn't weighed in. The environmental impact report hasn't been updated. There's a million things that haven't been done. This is further, nothing could be further from the truth that this is a done deal.
While nothing is etched in stone, the old Navy barracks at Liberty Station are already being gutted and will be demolished. Eventually, this is the site for the so-called Pure Water Project. That's 5 years from now. During the time between now and then, the city would like to create a full-service homeless shelter, and the people of Point Loma are pushing back.
So we created a nonprofit, a 501c4 called Point Loma Cares. The real thrust behind that was to aggressively fundraise for potential litigation to stop the city from building the largest homeless shelter in the state of California at this site, across the street from the airport, from a children's playground, from Liberty Station.
Well, the city of San Diego clearly needs to do something about the humanitarian crisis on our streets. This newly formed nonprofit would like a seat at the table. If not, they're getting geared up for a legal battle.
It's been established. We've engaged a law firm. Our law firm just this Friday sent a letter outlining 8 different legal reasons why this site is unsuitable for housing homeless folks. Anything from California Environmental Quality Act issues to the constitutional rights of the unhoused who would be forced to live at this site.
If the city of San Diego does stay on course, the old H barracks, as they're known at Liberty Station, could soon be transformed into the largest homeless shelter in California. Before that happens, however, the people of Point Loma would like to have a few words.
Our hope from the beginning has always been to engage the city and have conversation, not litigation, but we're at the point where the city has not wanted to talk with us. So right now we're sending letters to the city outlining here are all the problems with this plan, and if we need to litigate and file a lawsuit, then we will.
Alrighty, back out here live at the barracks that are still standing, and I did get a chance to reach out to the mayor's office earlier today and got a rather quick response from Rachel Lang, and she said that we expect this to be used to provide shelter with supportive services to help people end their homelessness before the end of this year. Before the end of this year, that is very definitive. Then I asked, well, what's the timetable for actually demolishing these buildings? Because the asbestos has already been removed. That took many months. It's all gone now. And the demolition is apparently now, according to the mayor's office, going to happen at the beginning of next month, at the beginning of April. This will all be coming down. Now, I also asked, do you have the permits yet for the homelessness, or are you doing the demolition under the Pure Water Project permits? And yes, this is all being demolished under the Pure Water Project, which is coming in 5 years. As for the homelessness and putting up tents and all kinds of services right here on this location, a lot of people think they're going to require a lot more approval than what they have right now. And yes, they are lined up with the lawyers just in case. We're at Liberty Station, where things are definitely happening and moving forward. We'll throw it back to you guys.
Thanks. Cyclists in Encinitas are voicing their concerns about road safety after a man was killed while riding in the bike lane there. Alani Latang brings us more on what they're saying.
Before these bollards went in, there were no cycling crashes that we're aware of for decades. And yet since they've gone in 4 years ago, it's just been crash after crash after crash.
Now the latest bike crash killed a 48-year-old man. County Sheriff's Office says on Sunday they found the man in the bike lane along Highway 101 in Encinitas. Investigators say the cause is still unknown, but say there's no indication or evidence of a collision with a car. Sean Wallace learned he lived near the victim.
It's tough because it's not just, it's preventable, and it wasn't just predictable. People have actually been predicting it, and yet nothing's been done.
Sean is a former professional cyclist. He went to the Olympics twice for Great Britain. He says he's been sounding the alarm to the city on the issues of the protected bike lane, even before they got installed.
It's fallen on deaf ears. You know, maybe the city thought we were exaggerating. In fact, you know, tragically, it's turned out that we understated the risk.
While these wheel stops and bollards are intended to protect cyclists from cars, Sean says they're actually dangerously trapping them inside the lane because they can't safely and quickly get out of somebody else's way.
Then bang, you hit the curb, hit the wheel stop, and next thing you know, you're laying in the ground.
You have surfers parking their boards, you have pedestrians, you have bikers. It's cacophonistic, and it's an accident waiting to happen, and the city knows about it, therefore they'll be liable if they don't address this problem.
Milton Willis is born and raised in Encinitas. He rides his bike every day there. Milton says before the bike lanes, the area was
far less dangerous. Now it's a mixed bag, and it's very confusing.
Now cyclists are asking the city to listen to them.
There's so much going on that it needs to be reined in and addressed and micromanaged.
If the bollards and wheel stops were removed, the cyclists that are at the moment taken to the roadway would all be using the bike lane, and I can guarantee there would be no more cyclists crashing into bollards and wheel stops.
We reached out to the city of Encinitas to comment on the bike lanes and some of the cyclists' concerns, and Mayor Tony Kranz says they can't comment until the sheriff's office completes its investigation, but he says he does send his condolences to friends and family of the man who passed away here. Reporting in Encinitas, I'm Alani Latang. Back to you.
2024 Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump filing a defamation lawsuit against another media outlet. Trump sued ABC News and George Stephanopoulos yesterday, alleging defamation over the anchor's questioning of Republican Representative Nancy Mace about her endorsement of Trump. The 20-page complaint, which was filed in federal court in Miami, takes aim at how Stephanopoulos said Trump had been found, quote, liable for rape when the jury had actually found him liable for sexual abuse. He is asking for an unspecified amount of damages.
The Supreme Court will allow Texas to enforce a law that allows law enforcement in that state to arrest migrants. This as the legal battle continues to play out. The decision now heads, however, to the appellate court, where it could then return to the Supreme Court again. All 3 liberal justices dissented against lifting the pause on the law. Hidalgo County Judge Richard Cortez voicing his concerns over the ruling.
Those judges have a lot of discretion, so it's going to be a little hushpod of who wants to enforce it and who doesn't. I think a lot of that's going to be ideology, which is really not good to know, because I think that lawyers and judges, should follow the law and everything should be applied the same. But I think there's going to be a lot of discretion and a lot of different enforcement of those rules.
So it's not clear at this time exactly how quickly that Texas law will be enforced.
Meanwhile, a timeline report of the deadly wildfires in Maui is expected to be released next month.
Still to come right here on Good Evening San Diego, why the Attorney General's office says it has been delayed. But first, meteorologist Mark Mathis previewing that weather. Hi, Mark.
Hello. It does look like we are going to have a nice night. Going to be a little bit on the warm side and going to be pretty nice around here for a few days. But we got some changes on the way. Yet again, another Pacific storm is going to impact us. Temperatures are going to drop and we could get some rain. We'll talk about it all coming up on the KUSI News. That's